The Ways and Means Committee is now called to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Cruzen. Alderwoman Florida.
Present.
Alderwoman Behringer.
Present.
Vice Chairman Williamson.
Here.
Alderman Moore. Alderman French. Alderman Vaccaro.
No.
Alderman Carter. Present. Chairman Kennedy.
Here.
6 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, we have several bills before us today. In our mailbox should have been left a review of the upcoming bills related to bi-state. We'll first take up bill. Unfortunately, I neglected to tell some of the other sponsors of the bills to have as a summary, so that falls on us. I know we've been very concentrated on the budget, but with that in mind, we'll still go forward with bill number 63, Alderman Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Let me make sure that my iPad is ready to go. Okay, this is a very simple bill. What this bill does, it basically gives the city treasurer's office the power to establish the Office of Financial Empowerment as a division of the treasurer's office. The city treasurer and OFE shall have the authority to research, conduct conduct educational programs, provide counseling, and pass out information regarding financial education. And so this came about because our treasurer, she was focused on the unbanked in our city, and after reviewing so many statistics and things, she decided to basically create this office and hopefully apply for some grant money and bring in some money to do some special things here in our city. So with that, we have Leonard from her office to take any questions.
Just to take questions, he doesn't want to make a...
Oh, yes, he can make a comment too, because
it?
I'm pretty sure he has a little bit more information than I do. So, thanks.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
One of the treasurer's mantras is the office is more than parking, believe it or not. So over the last year and a half, we've been very busy working in this financial literacy and financial empowerment space, developing programs, implementing programs, developing partnerships with national organizations, state-level organizations, as well as local organizations as well. In February, we launched a pilot program with BMO Harris Bank and Friendly Temple Church. With that particular initiative, we go to Friendly Temple each second Wednesday of each month, so we'll be over there tomorrow night. We engage their youth ages 5 through 18 plus on a financial literacy topic that's taught out of the FDIC's Money Smart curriculum. BMO Harris Banks provides all of the education for the students. We break them down into ages 5 to 7, 8 through 12, 13 through 15, and then there's the 16 plus class. Also in February, we started here with our employees the Financial Empowerment Lunch and Learn series. So each month, the first Thursdays of every month, we're over in the Abrams building, 1520 Market. We bring in several bank partners. So it's a bank or credit union who comes in, they do a financial class, the topics range. Some of them the bank partner choose, other ones are classes that our employees might suggest. So we give them an evaluation at the end of each class, and then they have an opportunity to say, hey, you might want to present on this topic. Hence, next month's topic is saving for retirement. That was a topic that the employees wanted to see. The bank partner also provides lunch to our employees, so it's an awesome opportunity for them to come and learn something and get a free lunch as well. We do 2 classes, one at 11 a.m., and then we do that same class again at 12:30 p.m. The lunch is all the same. The topics are all the same in both classes. Just give us the opportunity to reset the room and to get other employees. We open that up to about 30 employees per class. Several times we have had more than 30 to enroll in the classes, so we don't limit it to just those 30. A few other initiatives, and I'll turn it over for questions, is we hosted this last April our first annual Financial Empowerment Fair that took place at Harris-Stowe State University. We had about 20 bank partners, credit unions and banks who were on hand. We had our employees here in the Treasurer's Office pulling credit reports for citizens who attended. Justine Peterson would then do counseling to tell you how you can better your situation, your financial situation. situation based upon what's included in your credit report. And those bank partners who sponsored us on a gold level, they were able to teach classes throughout the day as well. We had more than 112 people to participate that day, including our bank partners. A couple far out ideas that the treasurer is working on. One that's not so far out. We have a partnership with Slate this summer, so we'll be engaging their 500 youth who come through to do employment with them on financial literacy. We have a partnership with First Federal Financial Credit Union where we'll be teaching their students about financial literacy, and a big push for that will be for them to save a portion of their work funds that they receive over the summer. We'll also be launching St. Louis Saves, which is under the America Saves umbrella, which is a pledge to save. That initiative should be launched along with the work we'll be doing with the Slate students. The treasurer is also working on a children's saving account program. We do not know how that's going to look at this point, but it's in the research phase right now. And we're also thinking about doing a Hope Inside, which will allow us to have a dedicated staff person here where citizens can come to the treasurer's office and receive financial literacy and get tools right here in our office.
We can entertain any questions from members of the committee to both the sponsor and to Mr. Johnson. Alderwoman Cruzen?
So you've already been doing a lot of this, right?
Yes.
I mean, from what you just told us, why do you think this bill is necessary?
Why we think this bill is necessary, and I did not speak on the bill because Chris did such a good job at doing that. Why this bill is so important is, number one, we are doing the work. The one thing we do not want to happen, that long after Ms. Jones is no longer the treasurer, we don't want that work to end. And by having a dedicated Office of Financial Empowerment, it will cement this work into our city government. It now becomes something that the treasurer office does from here on out.
But you guys are really, really busy trying to do your core business, as I see it, which is, do the treasury work for the city as well as operate the parking garages and all of the parking operations. And I know that there are things that you want to get to on your core mission that you're not able to get to because of time.
And a part
So,
of
I mean, the worry to me, or what it seems to me like is that this is a bit of a dilution of your core mission. And you can, of course, do it regardless of whether or not this bill passes, because you've already been doing it.
A couple things with that. One, Ms. Lisa Gates, who's sitting right next to me over there. Lisa is our financial literacy and community outreach coordinator. She has been working in that space since I had gotten to this office. So we have a person here who also, the Office of Financial Empowerment will allow us to be able to take in municipal grants and funds that are out there and that are available. Currently, we cannot do that under the current confines of how this office is structured. With the Office of Financial Empowerment, it will allow us to at least take in those governmental grants that are available, other municipal grants that may be available, and take in funds. One other note I'll have with that, when we just hosted our Financial Empowerment Fair at Harris-Stowe State University, we were not able to take in a sponsorship. So although it was a Treasurer's Office event, we were not able to take in any of those dollars. Those dollars were sent to Harris-Stowe State University. We had an expensive account there. There's no reason we should have done that. Folks were making checks out to our office instead of Harris-Stowe. Folks were sending checks to our office or sending them to Harris-Stowe. Checks had to get recut. It just created a lot of chaos. Whereas if we had this office, we could take in those grant funds to sponsor an event like the Financial Empowerment Fair and allow us to continue the work that we've started.
You'd probably have to have some separate accounts set up in the city's chart of accounts in order to do that. But anyway, no further questions.
Alderwoman Florida?
Yeah, my questions fall along that same line. Typically, when the city makes application for grants, there is either our committee or public safety would review those grant applications and accept the grant on behalf of the city, or at least vet it. And my biggest problem is we have such a separation with the treasurer's office that we don't even review your budget. So I believe that you know, to be more effective, we need to be transparent and accountable, and a part of that would be reviewing the cost of this office, and then too, at the same time, what monies are, there, you know, there needs to be a more transparent process in the way that we review the monies that come through the treasurer, because we really only see like $520,000 at the pass-through for the garages. And I'd really like to try to improve that. I really support this overall effort. I think this is absolutely fabulous, but I think that a good, strong partner would be the comptroller as well, our chief financial officer. But I do love what you're doing. I think it is wonderful, and I think there's a way to work through this so that we're working together. We are one city.
And what we actually, we just talked about that, specifically myself and the treasurer, and she is more than welcome to come. I mean, she wants to come and, you know, show everything in her budget if she was called. So, I mean, her whole thing was, if she's called, she'll come and present whatever. So, I guess it's up to us to call her, but she is open to that.
Okay, thank you. But I do love the whole concept. I think it's wonderful.
And if it's okay for me to add one thing with that, as far as the separation of our offices, there was a process, and the treasurer is very forward-thinking in trying to get all of these offices to cooperate together. And we've reached out to the comptroller, we've reached out to the mayor's office, we've reached out to you guys, every last one. Anything we have going on in this space, we always try and let the other people know, we always let the other offices know. One process that's not under financial empowerment, it fell under parking more so. In the past, if you were trying to get a meter permit, you would have to go down to Hampton to the street department, get a blocking permit, leave Hampton, come to our office here, pick up a permit for the actual meters themselves. We stopped that process probably within the first 60 days of getting in that office. And now if you're a citizen, you want to get a meter blocking permit, you can go straight to the street department, you can get that meter blocking permit, you can get the blocking permit from streets, and you can also get our permits from streets. We pay that, we work the accounting on the back end where we will get the funds that are for the meter rental fees. So Ms. Jones is very committed to working with other city departments and making sure that these initiatives are successful. We don't like to be an island all of on our own, but according to the way that the legislature came across with our office, we are that way for now, but we have no problem working with other offices.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Behringer.
Thank you. I too think this is wonderful. You all are working on this, but my concern was it has to do with wanting to apply for grants and find fundings, and the reason I bring that up is because I know not everybody knows everyone's background, but I've already worked with the unbanked. I've already worked with getting money into neighborhoods where they didn't have access to funds, and the Federal Reserve Bank has funding. They have so much funding set aside where they have to do literacy. They have the funding to come in to run these exact same programs. And I don't know for sure if they were involved in helping fund what you've been doing, but like I said, they're very good. I know that junior achievement, that's the other area we tapped into. Junior achievement paid for buses to take the children out to Chesterfield, and they actually have a little town, and the children are given money, and they have to know how much money they have. They have a post office, they have a bank, they have a grocery store, and the children learn when you get so much money, how do you spend it? And then they learn how to save it. So I'm hoping that that collaboration is also going on here, because obviously the more collaboration you have, the bigger impact you have. But I know junior achievement is very big on reaching out into the underserved populations, as well as I know for a fact the Federal Reserve banks do as well. And so my biggest concern here was that we would be looking for money to fund something when I know that it already exists out there in the community, and I would want us to not try and find money, but rather collaborate. The other thing that comes up, and I can't say this enough because we don't have control over it because it's a state issue, is that we can work as hard as we want to try and get more people financially literate. The problem is that until we get a grasp on the interest rates on payday loans, they're sunk. And so that was our biggest what we were overcome. I had a grad student who did his practicum on serving the unbanked and getting a special credit union set up in certain zip codes in the city of St. Louis, and I know for a fact they're doing that right now, and I feel really bad because I forget his name. But the key was to be able to get funding that didn't have the high interest rates. So, like I said, I think this is great, but I think we need to make sure we have all understanding of what it's going to entail, and that we have all the key players who are already doing it out there, the nonprofits, the banks, that we're all working together so we don't have duplication of services, and and the other part about that I liked that's being done, it was regional. It just wasn't the city. It was also going into, beyond housing, which goes, out in the areas, Wellston. So that was important too, that we looked at it regionally. So we didn't look at it as just city versus, stop at the city line.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
You would really love Ms. Jones's vision for this Office of Financial Empowerment, because it encompasses everything you just said. As far as the Fed being a partner, Fed is a partner of ours. We have a regional financial empowerment summit that we were going to do this fall that's being pushed back to next year. With that, the Fed has been approached to be our partner in that particular initiative. She will tell you that financial literacy is not a St. Louis City issue. It is a regional pool. It's a national issue. So these efforts that we have with this office is not just for, although we would do our core work with the City of St. Louis residents. If you came in from St. Clair County, if you came in from St. Louis County, St. Charles County, we're not going to turn you away from attending our fairs, attending our summits. We have a number of partners. We have the CFPB, that's the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. Oddly enough, the Clinton Global Initiative had gotten wind of some of the work that we're doing and have agreed to partner with us. One of our biggest partners here in the area is St. Louis Regional Unbanked Task Force. We've been working with them since day one. Ms. Jones has used her office as a tool to get on her bully pulpit to talk about payday lending. She did an op-ed piece in the St. Louis Post that was very well received, pushing back on the amount of funds that folks are. Basically, predatory lending has been a big push for her, not only with addressing the unbanked issues, but with addressing predatory lending practices that also spill over not only with payday loans, but also rent-to-own places. Also, with your check cashing facilities, she has been really pushing for some change in that area. So we would like to see that happening. I think the concerns you just brought up mirror hers. I would encourage you to also have a conversation with her yourself, just to get a little more grasp of some of these initiatives and some of our partners as well.
Okay. That's all.
All right. Alderman Williamson.
Thank you. Hey, I think it's a great idea to have this financial empowerment program, something that a lot of young kids, teenagers, and adults need to learn how to really handle their money and really work on preparing themselves for retirement. Now, you had mentioned Friendly Temple. Will that be the only place these classes will be held? Will they just kind of go throughout, North City, Mid City, South City? Are you going to do a rotation type of classes, or will you just be stationed at Friendly Temple only?
Gotcha. One thing with that, I excuse the treasurer's absence. She wanted to be here. She woke up with food poisoning this morning, and so I had to type up my notes really quickly, so I'm not giving you everything in depth with what's going on. With that, I did mention that the partnership with Friendly and BMO Harris Bank was a pilot program.
I see.
What we would like to do, number one, why are we in North City? Why are we there in that location? Well, that's one of the lowest credit scoring zip codes you will find in this entire city. And I did not know this until I came to work under Ms. Jones, that you can find a credit score per zip code, and the average credit score that drives a zip code. And that's why we're there, because it's one of the lowest in the city. What we would like to do is, as we're piloting this program, is to offer this to other churches and other financial institutions. Hey, this is what a partnership could look like with a financial institution and with a faith-based institution. And we've done it. This is is the success that we've had. We've had over 200 kids that we've educated over the last few months that we've been at Friendly Temple. Just a month and a half ago, the St. Louis Regional Unbanked Task Force, who's a big partner with the treasurer on many of these initiatives, hosted about 78 pastors for a prayer breakfast where we talk just about this. It is time to start a conversation in the church about financial literacy and financial empowerment. And so we're using what we're doing at Friendly Temple as a template that could very easily be duplicated at another church or in another community.
Okay, very good.
And that's also, I'm sorry, with our financial empowerment lunch and learn series with our employees, most of these things that we're doing, they could easily be duplicated with other organizations.
Okay. And like some of the other alderpersons asked, how would this be funded? Can you kind of explain how you would kind of, are the banks paying for a portion, or you're applying for grants? Will the treasurer's office also be, kicking in a certain amount of revenue to, have these classes?
Gotcha. Well, again, we do have a dedicated staff person who works directly in financial literacy, who coordinates most of all these programs, shall I say. Also with that, we are very big on having our bank partners. We can't pay for these things, as you guys know. So we can't pay for the lunch for our employees. That's why we push that on to the banks or the credit unions that come in and teach the class. So they come in, they provide the lunch, we're providing the space. The treasurer wants to be a conduit of these resources. She doesn't necessarily want us to be the ones out doing all of these. But with the Office of Financial Empowerment, it will open us up to receive grant funds. It will open us up to an opportunity to get some funding behind some of these things so that we can take a more active role. But most all of our programs, not most, every last one of our programs have been sponsored by the banking community.
And to get the word out, what are you going to use, kind of the media outlet, to really inform people what's going on, when those meetings are being taken place? Are you guys going to kind of use the media, or do you know how?
Yeah, so we will have conversations with our community partners as we have been. We will continue to have the conversations with the churches as we have been. We will continue to push things out on the airways via television media as well as radio media as we have the funding to do so. We try and do a lot of social media as well. Anyway, we do word of mouth. We go out and we canvass. When we had the Financial Empowerment Fair, we went to the surrounding neighborhoods and knocked on doors. So we try and get the word out as best as we can. But I think once that office gets there, to give us an opportunity at least to let folks know that they can come here and get those services.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Vaccaro?
I really don't have any questions.
No questions?
No.
Any closing remarks? Oh, you have another question?
I do.
Alderman
Yeah.
Florida.
I didn't have my question answered. I would like to have some confidence that the Ways and Means Committee would review any grants that were applied for and accepted on behalf of the city in the way that we do with the public safety grants and all of the other grants that are allocated. So I don't know if this bill allows for that. My guess is it doesn't. Is there some appetite for that?
It's a possibility. I can run it past the treasurer, and I'm pretty sure that that she would mind that.
I mean, that's just my idea.
Are there any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Alderman Cruzen?
It seems like this program, which I think is a good program, I guess currently it's being funded out of the treasurer's operations for the staffing and time and all that kind of thing, right?
Outside of, again, our dedicated staff person who's leading these initiatives, a portion of my time is spent on these as well. But as far as sponsorships, paying for facilities, paying for meals, the programs, we have been reaching out to the banking community for sponsorship of these programs, and this bill will allow us to at least start applying for and looking for municipal grants that could then fund these programs.
Right. Well, you know, all the banks, of course, want to do business with the treasurer's office because the city manages a lot of money. You know, there's a lot of throughput money through the city and the treasurer's office. So banks, of course, want to do business with the city. So, you know, asking them for sponsorships is kind of a tricky thing.
Well, we found, sorry, Alderwoman.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done.
Okay. What we found, actually, there, some of these smaller banks, which is who we're working with in these community banks, they don't want our business. To have the number of deposits that this office drives, they don't want that business because it'll hurt their credit ratings. We've heard this from a number of our partners.
Really?
Your bigger banks, your Bank of Americas, your UMB banks, they have not been at the table as much as a Fifth Third Bank or First Federal Financial Community Credit Union. These are the banks we're really working with, who's sponsoring these initiatives. Some of those larger banks that apply to be our depositories, well, they've been depositories for years.
Sure.
So those partners have not changed. But those smaller banks, those community banks, those banks that are focused on what we are focused on with financial empowerment, they don't want the depository business.
Right.
It does not help them.
Okay. Well, I think that, you know, of course, the more individuals who are banked, the better for them and for all of us. My question is just whether or not it's appropriate for the Treasurer's Office to do that when you have the Urban League, and there are a number of other entities that are also trying, you know, to do that. So that's a question. I don't want to dilute your time and effort from the, you know, core mission of the Treasurer's Office, because there's only so much time in a day, and you know, it's hard to get everything done. And you've really taken on a big new initiative, which is aimed at connecting with people, which isn't one of the core missions of the Treasurer's Office itself. So.
And I assure you that the time I spend working on these initiatives, again, like I said, we got a dedicated person who does this full time. But the work and the time that the administration have to focus on that is not as cumbersome as it may seem. Also, the Treasurer is taking on new parking technology that's allowing us to have more efficient operations for on-street and off-street parking. So the way we used to do things, we're moving out of an antiquated system into a more 21st century way of doing government, and we can. I'm a young guy, and my generation is known for multitasking, so I can pick up 3 or 4 different things at one time, and you wouldn't be able to tell if I was focused on one or all 3 at the same time.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Were there any other questions or comments from members of the committee? For not being prepared, you've done an excellent job. So, you know, I think some of the members of the committee are trying to wrap their heads all around it and to find a level of comfortability with it. And would also like to hear from the treasurer. Was it your intent to get this out today, or can you wait until another
Yes,
meeting?
it was, but if I don't have the votes, I can wait. I'm just being honest. But I think, and just from listening, I think that a majority of the issues may be dealing with partnerships and transparency. Am I right, Berenger?
And what? Yes.
Yeah.
I would just sum it up that way.
Mentioned today that we're not working with Urban League.
Yeah, and
Fed. I have not heard one name of any entity today that we're not working with. Come to the Urban League, they were a sponsor of the Financial Empowerment Fair. Come to the United Way, they were a sponsor of the Financial Empowerment Fair. These are our partners. We're talking to these same people. We know that they're doing the work. What we're trying to do with this office is say, let's bring all this work together. Let's come up with some type of regional approach where we're not just working in our silos, and let's work together on these initiatives, and that's what the Treasurer is really pushing for. But all these folks, they're right at the table. We're not trying to take the work out of anybody's hands. We want them to continue their good work, and we want to be behind them saying this is good work that's happening in this area. Hey, you general citizen, do you know the Urban League is doing X, Y, and Z? Hey, general citizen, do you know the United Way is doing X, Y, and Z? The CFPB has this program. You could then, we have the Most 529 program has match funds up to $250,000. A lot of our citizens are just unaware of that, where most will match those funds up to $500 per year, as long as the parent is making under $75,000 per year. So it's a lot of initiatives that will fall under financial empowerment and this Office of Financial Empowerment that I think, you know, I would, had the treasurer not been sick, she would be here. On my calendar, I got to meet an invite from Tashara Jones to meet her here at 9 a.m. Right. She called me about an hour and a half ago and said, Leonard, that duck made me sick. Right. We had dinner together last night. Right. It's like, I can't move. Okay, I understand. And then she goes, you're up. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I will get there. And hopefully I did her some justice. But I don't think there's too much more she can add besides you just hearing her replicate everything I just said.
Okay. Well, I think we will hold it and give an opportunity. We will be holding 2 meetings. ENA meets next week, so we'll be meeting immediately after that. So either next Thursday or the following Tuesday, we are holding meetings. So we can have the opportunity, she can make one of those and come before the committee at that point. You've done an excellent job, so don't think it has anything to do with that. We appreciate it.
Excellent job.
No problem. And I will let her know that.
And so we'll just hold it until one of those meetings. All right. And I know I personally am interested in being a co-sponsor, so be sure to put my name on it.
All right. I definitely will.
Okay, then. Thank you. You've done an excellent job.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
We'll next hear Board Bill 64.
No, not yet.
Alderwoman Christine Gracia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm here today on Board Bill 64, which is the proposal that the AGC has to purchase the lot that they're already leasing from the city, in which their Construction Career Center charter school sits. They've been leasing it from the city for over 10 years and have made improvements to the property. They use that as a parking lot. They also have a workshop for their students, and they've built a track for their use as well. I have members of the AGC and the Jim from the Comptroller's office if you have specific questions that they can answer, or I'm happy to answer those as well.
These are to be passed on. Oh, there's just one.
Thank you, sir.
We can pass that over. I need one now, thank you.
So if you're looking at the highlighted section of the map, the school building sits at 1220 through 4, and then everything surrounding that area is the space that they're currently utilizing.
Okay.
But they do not own, it's being leased.
Okay. Where, did you have any speakers on the bill?
If you got, I mean, I have members of the AGC if you're interested in having them answer questions. I'm here to answer questions as well.
Sure, okay. We can take questions from members of the committee at this point. Alderwoman Cruzen, any questions?
Do you know what the current lease terms are?
Do you want to speak to those?
Alderwoman, they have a renewable 10-year lease. As the Alderwoman said, it was a piece of legislation that came through the board in 2001. It's $1 a year, but they have made significant, as you can see from some of the pictures, some leasehold improvements over the years, and they will continue, or they have continued to maintain those leasehold improvements. So it's $1 a year lease.
Thanks.
Alderwoman Florida.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Behringer.
Really no questions, just a comment that I think they've done a great job, and I think the program's wonderful. That's all. Thank you.
Alderman Williamson.
No questions.
Alderman Vaccaro.
I'm just curious, what are they paying a year on the lease right now?
$1.
So, okay.
Mr. Sweeney just recommended, and I agree that it probably makes sense to let you know that this area was actually designated as a park back in 1947. We did review the charter, and as long as it's not being used as a park, it's not a green space, it's not being held out as a park, that we are okay legally to move forward with this.
Do we know if it ever was a park? It never was a park. It was just designated as a park.
Yeah, there are quite a few in that bill that
So what
are
wisdom
not
of
parks, yeah.
1947. Okay, if there are no other questions from members of the committee, we can entertain a motion.
I move that we pass Board Bill 64.
It's been moved that we pass Board Bill 64 with a due pass recommendation. There's a second on the motion. Alderman Williamson. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Cruzen. Alderman Florida.
Aye.
Alderman Behringer.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Williamson. Alderman Moore, Alderman French, Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Carter. Chairman Kennedy.
Aye.
6 aye votes, 0 no votes. Board Bill 64 comes out with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's my understanding that we will hold Board Bill 56, that is sponsored by Alderwoman Marlene Davis, and have a second hearing on that bill, third opportunity for the hearing on that bill on June 24th. That's a Tuesday.
Do you want to say this?
Yeah, we'll save it. At 9 a.m. here in the Kennedy Room. Yeah, we'll just hold on to the bills without, so they don't have to reprint them. Next up are our bills related to bi-state, and we will first take up Board Bill 59. I believe our representatives of, they're not here yet? Okay. We're taking up Board Bill 59 first, but I know you have a packet to go through with us.
Right.
Okay. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaccaro, Ms. Florida, Ms. Williamson, Ms. Behringer, Ms. Cruzen. My name is John Nations. I am the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Bi-State Development Agency. Our operations include the Metro Public Transportation System, St. Louis Downtown Airport, the Gateway Arch, excursion boats on the river, and some other things. I'm here before you this morning expressly for the purpose to talk about our annual appropriation for transit operations in the city of St. Louis. Thank you for the time to be with you. We have previously distributed to you a packet. There are a lot of pages in it. You'll be pleased to know that although there are a lot of pages, I'm going to move through it relatively quickly. Some of it is just information that I'll highlight, but that I wanted to leave with you. Things we get asked about, things we talk about in public, but that you can have at your disposal. Starting on what when I was younger I could identify as page 2. Everybody likes to talk about the awards that they get. We're no different. We are, in fact, as we will talk about, a transit industry leader. We are repeatedly recognized for our financial reporting, winning budget awards and financial awards. We are recognized nationally and internationally for our business practices, and of course for our internationally recognized world-class maintenance program. We are very proud of the fact that our maintenance division has been rated best in North America, one of the top 5 in the world. As we'll discuss briefly, the efficiencies and reliability that we get out of our system are unmatched. We have people coming and calling to St. Louis from around the country and frankly around the world, wondering how we can do what we do as well as we do. Recently, I think it was April, maybe it was March, we received a call from Russia as they were doing research, wondering how we can do, and they said, if you want to send a team, we'll be more than happy to talk to you. We've actually talked internally about creating a St. Louis Metro University so that we could export the knowledge and expertise that we have to other agencies around the country. We are an award-winning transit system. There lists some of the awards on page 3. Same thing is true on page 4. We're very proud of our achievements. We are very proud of our team when it comes to transit. As I like to say over and over, I will put my team up against anybody in the country when it comes to what we do. And I often say, if somebody can find someone who can do it better than we can, please please send them our way. We'd love to talk to them. Starting with page 6, just some comparisons for your reference, how we stack up around the country with our peer group. Page 7 is the annual average miles per vehicle, which is a testament to how we can make our vehicles run longer in a given year, longer over their life, and get more out of our assets than nearly everybody else. A peer group average is 46,000, ours is 72. On page 8, the cost per revenue mile, as you'll see, the peer group average is $30 and change, ours is a little over 18. On page 9, the rail vehicle cost per mile, again, we're extremely competitive in every aspect. Denver's kind of interesting to note. You'll see they're very competitive. Denver subcontracts out a significant portion of their service to the private sector. In a lot of these areas, we are actually beating the private sector in efficiencies and reliability. On page 10, rail cost per passenger mile. Again, we struggle with Denver and San Diego, which also subcontract part of their out, but we're very proud of our results. Starting on page 11, with regard to just our bus service, total cost per revenue mile leads our peer group. On page 13, the cost per passenger mile, just over $1, again, extremely competitive. And what's interesting is, you talk about the cost per passenger mile. If you look at some of these places, they have a lot more density than we do. And they have the opportunity to reduce their cost per mile. On page 14, something we are extremely proud of. This is one of the big measures of reliability, miles per bus failure. It's officially known as the mean distance between failures. We are at 26,986, as you can see what the industry average is with regard to our peer group. It was kind of funny, I was attending a meeting of CEOs from around the country about a year and a half ago, and someone got up from Montreal, Canada, was very proud of his system, got his mean distance between failures up between 5,800, which, as you can tell, would compare very favorably. And I was asked by those I was sitting around what it was in St. Louis, and when I told them we had gone over 26,000 miles, they said, "You mean 2,600? I said, "No, I mean 26,000. We get a lot of attention. Ray Freem, who is our Chief Operating Officer for Transit, he and his team do a tremendous job for our agency, for our customers, and for this region. Starting on page 15, the call ride. Again, we compare very favorably with the peer groups. St. Louis, you can see the total cost per revenue mile on page 16, the cost per passenger on page 17, the annual miles per vehicle, which is a testament to our award-winning maintenance and vehicle program, vehicle maintenance program, on page 18. Some organizational program changes that we've made. We've made a lot of moves over the last decade. I can't take credit for them. Many of them happened before I started, but we have a tremendously talented team that have put in place long-range plans. We saved more than $4 million in workers' comp. The predictive and preventive maintenance program that we have has saved well over $4 million. It's kind of hard to document. We save $4 million on the maintenance. The team generally believes that's extremely low, but it's certainly something that we can substantiate. Absentee program, we do a fuel hedging program rather than just buy it at the pump. We actually enter into hedging contracts for our fuel to reduce costs. Moving to page 20, we're going to get into the service. I'd be glad to answer any questions about that, but it's mainly for your reference. So you deserve to know as you invest dollars into our service what you're getting for your money, the reliability and the efficiency, that's what you expect, and certainly that's what the taxpayers you represent expect. On page 20, good morning. On page 20, we talk about the service a little bit. We have across the region 76 Metro bus routes, 59 in Missouri, 17 in Illinois, 37 MetroLink stations, over 21.5 million annual miles on our Metro bus system, 3 million miles on MetroLink, almost 6 million caller ride miles, and nearly 1 million boardings a week throughout the system. One of the things that comes up repeatedly throughout the year, just anecdotally, something unfortunate will happen on our system, whether someone gets assaulted, we see it in the paper, and for some reason that's the only kind of press that we get. If you watch the press and follow it, it's actually, first of all, extremely rare to happen on our system, but also when you consider that we're providing nearly 1 million rides a week, The actual number of incidences, we will compare very favorably with anybody around the country. It is extremely low. We are very proud of the fact that last year we were one of only 17 operations in the United States, of which there are several thousand, to get the Federal Transit Administration Gold Award for safety and security on the system. We don't bat 1,000%, but we do very well comparatively. It is unfortunate. Any incident that happens is unfortunate, but it's also, as you do here at the city, what is the context that we're living in? And when you provide nearly 1 million rides a week and an incident will happen, you know, every couple of weeks or something like that, it kind of frames it in perspective for you. On page 21, with regard to the City of St. Louis service, we have 36 bus routes. 14 are solely in the city, 15 are in the city and the county. We have 6 express routes from the county into the city and 1 seasonal, which is the Forest Park Trolley. We are very proud of the fact this week, in fact yesterday, we introduced articulated buses on the Grand Line, the number 70 Grand Line. It's interesting to know, with all the changes in our world over the last half a century, the number 70 Grand streetcar was the busiest streetcar in the system. 50 years later, the number 70 Grand bus remains the busiest bus in the entire line. So we introduced articulated buses. We're very proud of that. They're actually used. They're between 10 and 12 years old. We have 7 of them now. We will have 15 by the end of the year. As a testament to our maintenance operation, we can take buses that are a decade old, make them look brand new, get a useful life out of them, get them at a fraction of the cost, and we can add 25% capacity to the Grand Line at a 2% increase in cost. We think that's good for our agency, certainly good for the investment of the tax dollars. 8.6 million service miles, you can see it there. The Metro bus is about 6.5, Metrolink 700,000, Call-A-Ride 1.5 million. There are over 23 active city bus stops and 5 Metro transit centers and 4 major operational facilities. We have an extremely extensive operation throughout the city of St. Louis. We move a lot of people every day. Informationally, about 75% of the people who ride our system ride it to get to work, and about 20% who ride it are riding it to get to school. On page 22, our ridership in St. Louis is growing. 2 quarters over about the last 2 years, our rate of growth has led the country. We're seeing a rejuvenation in public transportation here in St. Louis. It's kind of interesting that we spent 2 generations moving out, using less public transportation. Now we're seeing the generations come back to public transportation. We do have some service issues. As we mentioned, we are adding capacity to the Grand Line. We do have overcrowding on some of our lines. We're trying to alleviate that. We have requests by passengers. We have requests by funding partners. It is important to note, I get asked a lot, and we'll get into it here in the next few pages, why don't we put more service in given areas? It's important to remember exactly how our business model actually works. When it comes to the City of St. Louis or St. Louis County or St. Clair County, which is the 3 jurisdictions where we provide service, we're basically a big contractor. We're not a taxing entity. That's why we're in front of you this morning. And basically what we do every year is we put together service packages in 3 separate jurisdictions based on the resources available or made available to us, and then try to turn 3 separate jurisdictions into one comprehensive public transportation system. As I like to say, I am in the business, and my team is in the business of selling and providing public transportation services. We'd be glad to provide more. We believe we could provide more, but they are constrained by the resources that are made available to us. Nevertheless, I am very proud of the job that our team is doing for our company and for this region. The next page, service issues, which are not addressed. A lot of this is really, some of it is in the county, some of it is in the city due to funding constraints. We are adding capacity where we can and shifting service where we can, but we do have service issues. I'll remind you that even though we talk about service issues, ladies and gentlemen, these are good issues for us to have. We are seeing increased demand for our service, increased investment in our service. So while we are disappointed that we cannot provide all the service that we have, we spent a lot of years listening to people tell us nobody rides your system, you put it out there and nobody rides it, you run empty buses. That's not the case anymore. Even out in my area of Chesterfield, we're seeing dramatic increase in growth, so it's a good thing to see. Again, some more issues on page 25 that are not necessarily addressed in this budget. One thing I am proud of is throughout the county, you know, it's always interesting. I am a former mayor, and when I was listening to the presentation before, and you were talking about the educational center out in Chesterfield, something we're very proud of. I was mayor there for a decade. That's part of the junior achievement facility in the valley, the Dennis and Judy Jones facility. It is wonderful to see, and I was delighted to hear about it. But one of the things we're doing and expanding our efforts on is to create partnerships with the communities that we serve, particularly in the county. Right now, we are a co-petitioner on a transportation development district in the city of St. Anne to rebuild St. Charles Rock Road. They want to use part of that money to put in transit enhancements there. In my own community in Chesterfield, we're partnering to put in additional bus stops through funding through the city of Chesterfield. When I was mayor, I put a transportation development district in the valley, and 10 years ago, when I had nothing to do with these issues, I provided for public transportation in the transportation development district. We're talking to the cities of Creve Coeur, Ferguson, and other areas now throughout the county, part of our revised business plan, to partner with the communities we serve and bring local money to the table to enhance service, something we're very, very proud of. Some of the budget assumptions for next year are contained on page 26. Fare increase of $2.2 million. Our board approved it. It will go into effect on July 1. It is important to note that our long-range plan, adopted in 2010 and also approved by East-West Gateway Council of Governments, calls for us to review our fare structure every 2 years so that we have generally more frequent fare increases, but they're lower. The history had been you wait a bunch of years until you're in money trouble, and then you double the fares or you raise them by 50%. And so what we've been challenged to do and have been doing in 2010, 12, and now 14 is review our fare structure on an ongoing basis, have public meetings throughout our jurisdictions that we serve, which is St. Clair, the city of St. Louis, and St. Louis County, and then adjust fares. We are adjusting them, increasing them on July 1. It is important to note that even though we're increasing fares for the second straight time, we are not increasing the base fare on a bus ride. And what we have found out is that the bus riders are the most economically disadvantaged, generally using it to go to work, and for the second time in 4 years, we are holding the line on the basic bus fare, increasing what officially we call our discounted fare media, but really it's our passes. Monthly pass will go up by a few dollars. Some of the passes will go up. We generally encourage the passes. It's the strongest investment someone can make in our system. But we're talking about a passenger growth modestly of 1.6%, a sales tax growth of 2% in the county, a 0.5% in the city. We're very conservative budgeters. We work with people from the city to determine what the city expectations are. Federal vehicle maintenance for operation, we will divert some money from operation to the tune of $16 million. The big hole in public transportation in St. Louis and elsewhere in the state of Missouri, of course, is the state of Missouri itself. The state of Missouri really doesn't fund public transit. We have about a $275 million operating budget. We will get, hopefully this year, about a $500,000 from the state of Missouri. Now, I will tell you that as part of the statewide half-cent or three-quarter-cent sales tax proposal that is on the ballot, both County Executive Dooley and Mayor Slay have stated that their priorities with regard to a good chunk of that money is to start doing more funding for public transit and to bring state funding into public transit. Some of our initiatives to hold down expenses, we have restructured our debt over the last year. All of our long-term debt is related to the cross-county extension. It was all restructured in June of last year. Also, very importantly, Proposition A, which was approved by county voters in 2010, the county does not appropriate all of Proposition A for operations. We do the same thing there we do here. We put together a service package for the county. They decide what they want to buy. Right now, that does not include all of the Proposition A funds. With a partnership with St. Louis County, we've done something that's very, very smart for the county and for our agency, and that is the portion of the Proposition A fund, which is not appropriated on an annual basis for operation, is made available to us, and we essentially borrow it from the county to pay down our long-term debt. That will reduce borrowing costs for the city and the county long-term. The county, frankly, Mr. Dooley is to be commended. That is a very unique relationship, and with all the controversies you can sometimes see in the public, even the Post-Dispatch said They called it a weirdly prudent loan. We took that as a compliment. We have transitioned a lot of our employees from traditional defined benefit pension plans. Our 500 salary force, our IBEW, our caller ride van operators, which are represented by the ATU, our salaried workforce. We've made changes to our vacation and sick program, combined it into a paid time off or a PTO program. We made a lot of aggressive moves over the last few years to modernize our company, its management, and our operations. Moving to page 27, the operating and non-operating revenue. As you can see, there's the pie chart. The biggest chunk of it, by far, comes from St. Louis County, $119.4 million for operating, roughly 42% of the operating. St. Clair County is about 17%, the city of St. Louis about 11%. Federal money is about $20.1 million for operating. I will tell you very candidly that the federal situation is becoming increasingly challenging. We haven't been able to get long-term transportation bills out of the Congress. We've been going from one continuing resolution to the other. I'm not sure where it's going to lead. It makes planning extremely difficult. Passenger revenue is about 18.6%, and there's some other miscellaneous local funds to round out the operating budget. On page 28, the operating and non-operating expenses. No real secret there. We're a service organization. The largest portion is for wages, benefits, and OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, about 61.3%. Our debt is about 7.2% of the expenses. Parts and supplies, which is challenging given the metals market, and fuel and lubrications, which is also challenging from a budgeting standpoint. Kind of consolidating it on the on page 29, you can see the proposed year, the current year, and then the previous year. We are increasing our operating revenue. Our costs are also generally increasing. This year over last year is a little over 3%. You can see the non-operating revenue, which kind of listed as an expense, which is scheduled to be $201 million this year. That leaves, if you add depreciation, a net deficit of about $80 million proposed. The next 5 pages really get to the crux of the entire system and the presentation this morning. This is really what you're buying. This is the service package that we put together and the costs associated with it. When I first got into this position 4 years ago, I heard repeatedly that there were comparisons between the city and the county, and I would talk to folks from the city and folks from the county. So what we've done over the last few years as we've done our budgeting is to put the city and the county on one page so you can see it all on several tables, what we're doing in the city, where the money comes from, where the service is, so everybody gets a comprehensive picture. Everybody's dealing with the same set of facts. On page 30, the first line is the Metro bus miles. This page deals with the mileage among the 3 nodes in the city and the county. About 11.3 million bus miles in the county, 6.3 in the city. Metrolink is a split mileage virtually 50-50, about 786,000 miles in the city. The caller ride is about 25% of it is in the city at about 1.5 million miles. You can see at the bottom the total in terms of mileage, about 1/3 in the city, 2/3 in the county. It's really not surprising. The county geographically is much larger. When it comes to hours, you basically look at miles and hours of the modes. The miles, the percentage of hours in the city, little closer to the county. It's 58 to 42 as opposed to the miles. That's because we stop more frequently in the county and we operate it on an average at a slower, we stop more frequently in the city and we operate generally at a slower speed average-wise in the city. But with regard to the hours, about 978,000 in the county, across all modes, about 713,000 in the city for the coming fiscal year. With regard to totals, miles, and hours and operating costs, that's contained on page 32. About $60.7 million for the Metro bus, about $21 million for Metrolink, and about $6.6 million for the caller ride in the city. The annualized cost to the city is about $88.3 million, about $124 million for the county. The city portion of the Missouri service is about 42%. You know, one of the things that I get asked, frankly, frequently, and I get asked in the city, frankly, more than anywhere else, is, John, okay, you got overcrowding in the city, and you've got buses that are not full in the county. You're running out to Ellisville, Wildwood, South County, Fenton, those buses are not full. Why don't you take some of that extra service and put it in the city where you obviously have demand? The answer would be that would make a tremendous amount of sense, except for one thing, going back to how we are funded. In St. Louis County, we put together a service package, and the voters and the taxpayers say, we want service throughout St. Louis County, and they're willing to pay for it. And they do. We're proud of the fact that we can reach about 95% of the people and about 95% of the jobs. But it is true, we have buses in the county that are not as full as buses in the city, but the county has been insistent. The taxpayers have been very supportive, as you're seeing, and you will see on the next couple of pages. They want service throughout the county. That's a different service package we just coordinated with the city. I cannot take money from the taxpayers in the county and put it in the city any more than I can take money from the city and put it in St. Clair County, Illinois. It's a very common question. We have spent a great deal of time over the last couple of years perfecting slide number 34 to try to put it all on one page so you can kind of see everything on one page with regard to the city and the county. You see the operating expense in the top line, 42% of it is in the city. The sheltered workshop, what that is, the 1974 sales tax. The city service is supported by 3 separate sales taxes. The county service is supported by 3 separate sales taxes in the county. One from 1974, one from 1994, and then one that went into effect in 2010. The 1974 statute, which authorized the 74 tax, states that I think it's 1% of the amount of that fund that is paid to us, not paid to anybody else, just the amount you pay to us. 1% of it has to be paid to the sheltered workshop. So we do, and that's why that line is in there. The Illinois Central Business District subsidy to the city. Obviously, most of the people from Illinois and St. Clair County who ride Metrolink in the service are trying to get to jobs in the city of St. Louis. The St. Clair County Transit District, on behalf of St. Clair County, actually provides a subsidy of about $860,000 to support service and capital costs in the city. That is a very commendable thing for them to do. We credit all of that cost to the city, none of it to the county, because it's essentially all put in the city. That gets to one of the assumptions that we talk about that I like to remind people every year. People say, how'd you come up with the assumptions? The Metrolink assumptions, the fair revenue assumption is we credit it to the jurisdiction where it is paid, where the person gets on the system. So if you live in the city and you work in the county or vice versa, you essentially split the fare. It's where you get on the system. The city's been comfortable with that assumption. It makes a lot of sense. The county's comfortable with that assumption because it really does make a lot of sense. I will tell you this, as we make extensive investments in smart card systems, we're going to know a lot more about our passengers in the coming few years, and it could be that we might come up with a better way. We might find there's a more accurate way, but right now everybody agrees with the technology we have, this is as fair a way as any, so that is what we do. We get some other revenue from advertising contracts and miscellaneous sources. You can see how it's credited depending on where it's applied. The passenger revenue, roughly $6 million in the city, $19.9 million in the county. You look at the operating expense less the Illinois Central Business District subsidy, you get to the next line, and then you go down, we actually have to have a provision in the budget. The capital things that we do, we have to have a local match for. A lot of the capital stuff is done on an 80-20 match. Some of them it's not even 80-20. But depending on where the capital project is, we have a local match from that jurisdiction for those particular projects. I'll talk about capital projects here in a couple of minutes. The debt expense on the next line, coming up to about $31 million over the coming fiscal year. The debt expense is allocated between the city and the county. It is all related to Cross County. We don't have long-term debt other than the Cross County expansion. It is allocated based on how many miles of that track are in the city and how many miles of that track are in the county. That's why 87% of the cost is allocated to St. Louis County. Then you can see the second line from the bottom going down. This is what we are here about this morning. The regional sales tax requirement to maintain service levels in the city of St. Louis and throughout the region. The appropriation that is in front of you is about $36 million, totaling about $35.9 million from 3 separate funds. We're going to use that, and we believe we can maintain service levels in the city, which is what we are asked to do. And we believe that we can have another year where we will be able to maintain service levels based on the appropriation from that fund. Now, throughout the year, I get asked a lot of things. And sometimes people say Nations is in favor of this, or, you know, Nations isn't in favor of that. People will often come to me and they will say, hey, we'd like to have a Metrolink station. Can you build one? We'd like to have something. Can you do it? My answer is, sure, we can do it. In fact, we can probably do it better than anybody. The question is, how would we pay for it? If I take some of these funds and apply it to a new Metrolink station, whether it's the operating costs or the capital costs or something else, I'll have to come back and say, oh, okay, I can't sustain the current service levels. The biggest example, of course, was when Cross County was constructed. There were no new revenues made available to Bi-State to run the service. They ended up cutting bus service outside of 270 in absence, because we had to run a railroad, pay a long-term debt, and there were no additional monies. So what's in front of you this morning is that second line from the bottom on the city side, approximately $36 million in appropriation from those funds. Going to page 35, we get into the capital budget. I've been going on a long time. I'm not going to go through all these numbers in detail, which I know you'll be thankful for. But that'll give you the sources of our federal funds. We're very concerned about the federal funds going forward. As I've said, Washington is not a very fun place to be at the moment, as you can all tell from reading the news every day. And we are very concerned about long-term funding. And given the fact that we don't receive assistance from the state of Missouri, this is an extremely serious issue. Going to the next page, page 36, some of the things that are on the long-range horizon for us. The North County Transit Center up on Pursuant Road in the county, the Forest Park mixed-use development, some maintenance of way facility, Spruce Street Bridge and buses and vans. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to go to the next page, page 37, to give you some depictions about some of the investments that we're making. In our capital budget, some of the investments we are making. Fare collection. We are overhauling our fare collection system. We're going to go to smart cards. You'll be able to load up a reusable card as you do in so many other cities. We've bought new fare boxes for our buses. We're trying to do some things in St. Louis that really haven't been done elsewhere around the country, and that is coordinate new systems across 3 different modes and across 3 different jurisdictions. Nevertheless, that project is going very well. Second one is the Eads Bridge. We own the Eads Bridge. It opened 140 years ago on the 4th of July. That project is about halfway finished. It is frankly going very, very well. When we started it a year ago, we had record low water on the Mississippi River, so we didn't anticipate any flood days last year, and then we were shut out for, I think, 20 days due to flooding. Mississippi River's challenging. Then we had the coldest winter we've had in God only knows how long. We were behind schedule, but I'm proud to say that the team is catching up. In the downtown left, the Downtown Transit Center. This is a project that's going to get going here nearly around the end of the summer. We are expanding, virtually doubling the capacity at the 14th Street Civic Center stop at the Scottrade Center. Tremendous investment. It's right there at the Multimodal Center. Going to add tremendous capacity. It's really a great project. We're going to have a public meeting, I think, here at City Hall in the next week or so, either here or over at the Sheridan, so the residents can see it over at Couples. We are replacing some of our rolling stock, as you've seen with the articulated buses. One of the things that my talented staff can do is make rolling stock run longer than just about everybody else. Nevertheless, unfortunately, they haven't been able to make it run forever. So ultimately, we're going to get into a regular replacement of our vehicle stock, which is something we're getting into in the next budget. The North County Transit Center, there's a depiction of it up on Pursuant Road near Florissant Valley Community College. About 25% of our ridership is within 5 miles of that North County location. It's going to a lot, even though it's in the county, it serves a tremendous number of riders from the city, and a huge geographic portion of the city. Moving ahead for progress, federal law, map 21 as it's known on page 38. There's just some bullet points about it. We'll see what goes on now. As I say, the funding law is in effect. I mean, we've been going through continuing resolutions. I can't begin to predict to you what the feds are going to do. With regard to sources of funds, we're talking about capital on page 39. About 75% of it comes from federal, about 25% of it is local. Again, on page 40, some of the major capital projects on our capital list. Let's see. Under state of good repair, again, you can see a list of I won't read them to you. You can read them as well as I can read them, and I don't want to tie up any more of your time than I have to. But our funding request on page 42 is for the appropriation of the Transportation Trust Fund. That's the 1974 tax, the Prop M, which is the 1994 tax, and the Prop M2, which was passed by the city voters in '97 but did not go into effect until 2010. On page 43, some of the additional amenities that we're adding: the North County Transit Center, the smart card that I talked about, ADA upgrades, warning strips on our MetroLink, our transit and dispatch center, which will be at the North County location, and AVL signage and better wayfinding. Page 44, that's the 14th Street Center that I mentioned, and we are also working on developing bus rapid transit throughout the region. We've done an alternatives analysis that told us that it's worth proceeding to the next study to study bus rapid transit. We continue to meet regional service demand. Mostly, we do have issues. We're working on it. We work to enhance the system. We're looking to work on bus rapid transit, and we're always thinking about possibilities to expand light rail. Our long-range plan assumptions, which we continue to do, we continue to pursue State of Missouri financial report. That has been quite a challenge. There has been talk, as you know, for several years of an additional quarter-cent sales tax in the city. You would know more about that probably than I do. We advocate for stable federal transportation funding. That's been a challenge. And we've been accelerating our debt repayment, which we are doing, as I mentioned, and improving our debt coverage ratio. I will be glad to answer any questions that you have. We're very proud of what we're doing. Frankly, we're extremely proud of our partnership with the City of St. Louis and the support that we receive from the City of St. Louis. Together, we're doing great things for the city. We're doing great things for the region. Okay. And I put Alderman Vaccaro to sleep, I think, but I'll be glad to answer any questions to the extent that I'm able.
Okay. Alderwoman Cruzen, any questions?
I have a lot of questions, but not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
She's afraid I'll keep talking. That's why she doesn't want to.
Alderwoman Florida.
Yeah,
any questions?
thank you. Alderman Carter had to leave, and he had a question for you.
Sure.
So I'm his conduit. His question was basically, there's security at the metro stations, but he's having a problem with drunks hanging out on the bus stops, creating an insecure situation. So I think the answer would be, what would an alderman do? You know, the question would be, what should an alderman do in that situation from your perspective?
A couple of things.
Okay.
First of all, let us know about it and if he knows a location. But it's important to remember that we are not a licensed police force.
You're not.
We have private security. So we have a partnership. We actually pay money back to the City of St. Louis to provide police protection. And if there is a security issue, if we have that type of issue, we do not have the resources, as you will immediately realize, to police every bus stop throughout the system. We can't police the communities that we go through. That's why we're very proud of our partnership with the City of St. Louis County, and the Sheriff's Office in St. Clair County. If you'll let us know about it, we'll be glad to communicate with your police department and see if we can alleviate that concern.
Okay, so you want him to let you guys know
Right.
the location is, I mean, or he could just call the police.
Right,
I mean,
he could.
Could he do that?
If we know about it, we will also, if we know about it, then we'll also have it on our agenda.
On your agenda as
Yeah.
well, which I think that's what he wants it on your agenda. There we go, thank you.
If that's fine, you can give him my direct line, which is 982-1588. If he or anybody ever has questions about us, you can always call me directly. I invite you
I'm
to
going
do
to
that.
text that answer to him.
That'd be fine.
Thank you. And then my question is, it more relates, I think you guys are doing a great job with Les. I wish we could expand transit in St. Louis. I find that to be quite frustrating, that we don't have the support from the state. I attended an aging summit that was sponsored by Governing Magazine, and Metro really needed to be there, and they weren't, and there was some frustration.
Where was this?
It was sponsored by Governing Magazine, and it was St. Louis County. It was all the area municipalities on aging in place. And one of the #1 issues that came out of that was, one, the state doesn't support transit, and it's more of a pass-through. I think, as you've described it in past years, it's about $300,000 pass-through, and it's to provide the oversight of the state office. Is that correct?
Right. The only reason we get the money is because we are required. What happens is they actually appropriate it to us, and then we actually pay a significant portion of that money back to the state. The state is required to have an Office of Light Rail Oversight, Light Rail Safety, overseeing the Metrolink system. And since we are the only light rail facility in the state of Missouri, they charge us for the expenses of that office.
Well, the AARP, which was a part of this conversation and has national lobbyists, did not know that. Okay, so I think we were able to get their attention that this is, you might want to contact the AARP because it sounds like they are interested in taking up that cause.
I think it's already been taken up. There's actually a proposed rule, and I can't remember whether it's actually gone into effect, to make it so that the state cannot do that. There was actually a rule proposed at the federal level that they can't, essentially appropriate the money and charge us back for it. What the status of it is as I stand here, I'm not sure.
But I think the AARP is interested in shifting the paradigm that transit is a very important issue to seniors, and that we have a significantly aging in place population in the county and the city. And so having quality transit is in their self-interest. And so the AARP is, I think at this point, interested in taking this case to the state, since we don't get any funding really from the state of Missouri. And then two, their other primary issue was they felt that caller ride was really inefficient and that it works much better in other regions. So it was something that I thought you should have been there, and I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of it
That's okay.
now.
If you have the name or a contact, we'd be glad to be. And if you ever see something like that, just call us. We'd be glad to attend.
Sorry, John.
We'd be glad to attend.
Right, and then my own personal interest is more about what's your role in bike share?
In what?
And then bus rapid transit. Where are we at?
What was the first one?
Your role in bike share, share a ride, or not share a ride, but the bike share program, where I see other cities have these wonderful bike share programs like Chicago and Denver, Boulder area, and I know we've gone through I think it was GRG that hosted the study and that type of thing. But what is Metro's role in bike share?
We haven't done anything yet with bike share.
Okay.
Right? We haven't done anything with bike share, have we? Tracy? No. Oh, and Ray's here.
Hi, Ray.
I should have introduced my talented team.
Yeah.
Ray Freem, who's head of our transit operation, Mark Vago from our finance department,
Hi.
and Tracy Beidelman from our grants department. They do a tremendous job. I should have introduced them at the beginning. I brag about them all the time. They get used to it.
Right. So that was bike share, no official role, and then bus rapid transit, where we.
Ray, we're not doing anything with bike share yet, are we? We're not doing anything with bike share yet, are we?
Yeah, where are you
No.
at? Just, okay.
We put we allow bikes on our facilities. We have bike racks on all of our buses, but
You're cooperating,
Have you had any conversations about bike share yet?
We've had conversations with bike share about maybe using some areas, even the new downtown transfer center. They're looking for 3 or 4 places to basically put these bikes for storage, and we're open to that.
Okay.
We don't have supervised places.
Okay.
So they're probably wanting to go somewhere else that they can keep an eye on these assets a little bit better. The other thing that we're doing with the bike community is we are sitting down with them now and reviewing all of our SOPs, bicycle SOPs in terms of safely loading bicycles on trains. And
Standard operative procedures.
Thank you, SOP. Sorry, I wasn't with you. I didn't catch that. Okay.
Transit has its own language.
It's fine. I should know that.
Military, but okay. So that people who are using bikes can make maximum use of the transit assets as well. We've installed bike racks on every bus now, and we're also working on doubling the capacity on Metrolink for people with bikes, right as we speak.
Thank you. And the bus rapid transit, where are we at on that?
We have just done an alternatives analysis, and now we're looking for funding to do the corridor analysis next, right?
Right, we've applied for Tiger grants to take the
Right.
studies to the next step.
Okay.
So right now, we're waiting to see, what is if there's a funding mechanism to further study, BRT. We believe that there's at least 2 viable corridors, probably as many as 4. And when we take a look at BRT, you take a look at Metrolink and you kind of overlap, the Metrolink grid with the BRT to fill in the gaps, and it's a total comprehensive transit plan for the region. But every step of the way is more competitive. We apply to the federal government. We try to get a little bit of money here. We'll see, what breaks free for us.
Okay.
And from a business perspective, as that is developed, we'll of course be working with the city throughout. And at the end of the day, it'll be a proposal for BRT, presumably. And if you look at our service in the city and the county, is that a service the city or the county would like us to implement based on costs and potential and opportunities? So,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Alderwoman Behringer, any questions?
The only thing I have to say is your presentation of everything, I appreciate it only because when it was presented like 8 years ago when I was on Ways and Means, you have a thorough understanding and concept of the presentation, and I appreciate it. I guess my question would be to you, when it comes to, you had said about the federal, our assistance from federal, what would you suggest? In other words, are our congressmen and senators working on our behalf diligently, or is that something we should help encourage? And what would you recommend?
I would say all of the above. It's always a good thing when congressional representatives hear from multiple sources. And we're fortunate that our lobbyist in Washington is the same as the city's. It's Jim Brown, who's done an excellent job for years, making some things that seemed impossible possible. But the more they hear from you, the more they hear from aldermen, the more they hear from mayors, the more they hear from all kinds of people, that over and over, wait a minute, I keep sitting in meetings and public transit is an issue and this funding bill is important, that's a very good thing.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Williamson.
Thank you. Also enjoyed your presentation. I think you did an excellent job.
Thank you, sir.
It was very informative. A few questions I have. And if you did receive any more grants or revenue for Metro, where would you think the expansion of the light rail would be, the Metrolink? What would you like to see, or what do you think the need is for expanding the
Well, right now, just to start, our long-range plan from 2010 identified 5 potential expansion corridors. One would go from Clayton out to Westport in the county. Another one would extend south from our Shrewsbury station on the cross-county line further into South County. Another one is known as North Side, South Side, which would go from North City through downtown and into South City. Another one would branch off of the red line going to Lambert to go up to Florissant Valley Community College. And then another one would go over in Illinois. One of the things, it's very difficult without any analysis for me to stand here and say which one is which. I'll probably end up in the newspaper if I say anything along those lines. But, given the federal funding situation, it's probably not something that's going to happen here in the next, short term. But we have to look at density, ridership. We have to look at where the resources would be in order to do that. The county has looked at a couple of things, and they came out with an infrastructure plan a couple of years ago that said, even though they're not saying it would be the first one to be built as far as their preference, the first one they'd probably be interested in looking at, too, as far as the county, would be going from Clayton out to Westport and then going up further into North County to serve the county. There's been a lot of interest in the city, going from North Side to South Side. As you're well aware, I'm sure there's been a proposed streetcar in downtown St. Louis. That is not our project. We've talked with them. But we look at some of those proposals. We look at things like BRT and proposed streetcar in downtown St. Louis as to whether that could be a nucleus for North Side, South Side in downtown St. Louis, a way to look at those routes and serve those routes. I can't give you the answer you're looking for, as if I had the money, where would I put it? That would be the result of a long analysis, a lot of discussion, collaboration with the city and the county on the Missouri side of the river, and with St. Clair County and Madison County on the Illinois side.
Okay, very good. Your employee situation with the unions, is that pretty stable now? I know at one time they were, some of your employees were threatening to, strike. So you guys kind of got that under wraps, or, with the increase of the rates with the Metrolink, has that really kind of smoothed things over for the time being? Or
We are still in negotiations with the ATU with regard to our operators and mechanics. They also represent some of our clerical people. The contract is expired. We have all of the rest of our employees, from the 500 salaried workers to even the caller ride operators who are represented by the ATU, to our IBEW employees, have all seen and agreed to, except for the salary people. I can't say they agreed to it because it was something that we implemented. But with the IBEW and the caller ride, these are agreements that are put in place that provide now a defined contribution pension system. The pension system has been at the heart of the labor negotiations really from the beginning. We still have that sticking point. We continue to talk. We continue to exchange proposals. I hope that we're getting together, that we're getting closer, but I'll be completely candid with you. I cannot stand here today and tell you that we've come to terms, or that is the situation that all of us would prefer.
Okay, very good. I hope it works out.
I do too.
Last question. Developer station. Do you have any immediate plans or future plans, or a little bit down the road, of moving that particular bus, route, or where that bus depot where you have the buses there, the Del Martin Developer Station? Do you have any?
We have no immediate plans. The only thing I will tell you about that is, as the Loop Trolley streetcar comes online, and we look at how those road configurations are done on an ongoing basis, just like the city. There's no cut and dried answer to this. One of the things we do all the time is we question what we're doing and how we're doing it. We have the same number of facilities we have, and we had twice the number of buses that we do. We have one in Illinois, we have DeBoliver, and we have Brentwood. We're always looking at, is there a way to do it more efficiently? The answer to your question is, in looking at it, we have not decided to close DeBoliver. There's been no determination, just like there's been no determination to close Brentwood or to close Illinois. But it is part of our ongoing review of operation as to what makes the most sense. I don't want to say that and have you think, well, they're thinking about closing DeBoliver. We're not, but it could come up as we continue to examine our system.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Vaccaro?
Just real quickly, I noticed they took all the trees out at the 14th Street. Is that because of the expansion?
That's because of the expansion, yes, sir.
And is it going to go all the way to the sidewalk, I guess? You have steps going down?
Going to continue to the north. The size of that facility is roughly going to double. Ray's been working on it every day. If you like some details, he can give you minute details. So if we got another couple hours, he'll come up.
I'm cool with that. No, I was just curious. Thanks.
Yeah, that's part of that project.
Okay. Are there any other questions from members of the committee? Alderwoman Cruzen?
John, thanks for the really comprehensive report.
Thank you.
I guess my is more of a comment and an encouragement to you, which is that I really think that Metro is, if not the biggest, certainly one of the biggest institutions that are going to shape the way our region looks for the next 30, 40, or 50 years, because the decisions that you make about transit are going to drive where people live, where people want to live, how people can get to their jobs, and that sort of thing. And I know that there is certainly a lot of pressure to spend money where the revenue comes from. But like any big CEO, I mean, make the big long-term decision, because the one that you make is going to impact this region. And if we don't spend the money on transit in the core of our region, the core of our region is going to get weaker and weaker. And so I know it's tough, but it's like the CEO who has to decide between the long-term profitability of his company and the earnings per share for this quarter. We always hope they make that long-term decision. So,
thank you.
Really important, the decisions that we make about transit.
Thank you, and we take them very seriously. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay. If not, we can go directly to Board Bill 59. That deals with what, the 1994 quarter cent sales tax? We can take a motion on Board Bill 59.
I move that we pass Board Bill 59.
Been moved and seconded that we pass Board Bill 59 with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Been seconded. Request for previous roll. Any opposition to previous roll? Seeing none by your vote, we have adopted Board Bill 59. Board Bill 60 deals with what, the 1997?
Right. This tax actually went into effect when the county passed, they were reciprocal,
Right.
and when the county passed it in 2010, this went into
2010.
effect.
Okay. We can entertain a motion on Board Bill 60.
Make a motion that we pass that Board Bill 60.
Been moved and, it's been moved and seconded. We pass Board Bill 60 with a due pass recommendation. Been a request for previous roll. Any opposition to previous roll? Seeing none by your vote, we have adopted Board Bill 60 with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 61.
Make a motion that we pass that Board Bill 61.
Second, request
Been,
for previous.
been moved and seconded that we pass Board Bill 61 with a due pass recommendation. There's been a request for previous roll. Is there any opposition to previous roll? If not, then by your vote, we have adopted Board Bill 61 with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And,
you.
We renew our commitment that we're going to put something out there that you can be proud of, that the region can be proud of, and if any time during the year, not just during budget hearings, you ever need anything from us, we are always responsive. You can call me directly, but Ray and his team throughout the organization, they do a tremendous job. I'm very proud of them. I hope you are too.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I believe that completes our agenda. We have another bill? Yeah, we're holding Davis's bill. Okay, then. I believe that completes our agenda for today. Our next meeting is scheduled, I believe it's for next Thursday, which is the day after Board of E&A meets. Okay? With that, then, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
So we held two bills, Davis and Carter.
And Carter's bill.
All right.